Hey guys, it's Nina with Sidewalker Daily, and in today's video, I want to talk a little bit about the differences of an influencer versus a blogger. I think when I first started in this industry, everyone was calling themselves a blogger, and we're seeing more and more transition into influencer. But remember, there are main differences, and not all influencers are bloggers, and not all bloggers are influencers, right? Of course, there are going to be an overlap in some cases, but there are differences, and I think it really is more about kind of a lot of personality style, what type of content you want to create, what you're into. As someone who's worked on the brand side, I have done influencer campaigns, and then I've also had like traditional bloggers come, but their needs are very different. So I'll give you an example. When I worked at a PR firm, and I did consulting for the hotel side, I would consider my bloggers' needs more like a writer or a journalist. They needed to go document the trip, write about the experiences, like really in depth, because their blog was going to be, in depth documenting and writing a lot, right? They needed to taste the food. They needed to meet the chef. Like they're writing these long, long articles, right? The experience was very different, and they didn't have to capture the content necessarily while they were on property. Like they could take notes and then write the blog post when they were back home. Versus my influencer, oftentimes you're going to associate this with someone who is obviously on social media, like on Instagram, and they're taking photos and they need to get their content done on that trip because they can't go home and like shoot the content the same way maybe my blogger could go home and write it. My influencer had to shoot the content, the photos, the videos, the reels, whatever they were shooting at the time while they were there. Now, the way I like to also think about it, so I do classify a lot of my bloggers almost like press, like traditional media. They're writers, they have large audiences or small depending when they're starting out, but they own a blog, they own a website, they are the owners of their website. Whereas social media influencers, they're posting on other platforms, right? Now, of course, as an influencer, if you have a blog, that's an amazing source of credibility for you, and it kind of gives you a second place to fall back on. Like you have Instagram, but you also have your own site, right? Because bloggers, the cool thing is it's like your storefront, it's like your piece of the internet, which is really, really helpful. But I'll be super honest, and this is where I give my bloggers a big shout out. Running a blog is really, really, really hard. And maybe it's because I don't love to write. Maybe if you love writing, it's a different experience. But if oftentimes I get these creators and these influencers that are like, oh, I love Instagram. And yeah, I want to start a blog. And I'm thinking to myself, do you like to write? Are you detail oriented? Can you really story tell? Are you familiar with SEO, like the editing process? And it's not to discourage people from starting a blog. It's to give credit, to those that do have one. I just wanted to showcase like the differences, right? And oftentimes when I think people want to start a blog, they don't realize that there is a lot of work that goes into it, right? Even writing consistently and taking the photos for your blog, or maybe it's finding the stock photos that you're going to be using. They're very different beasts, so to speak. So this is not to discourage anyone. This is just saying it's the same thing for my influencers. A lot of bloggers, they say, okay, I want to be good at Instagram, but Instagram is its own space, right? Like you have to be good at photography, also storytelling, but in a very different sort of way. Quick video, more quality of the photo and the videos you post. Your captions are like micro blogs versus, what you may do on your own site. Now, I started this video off by saying there are, not all bloggers are influencers, and not all influencers are bloggers, but yes, there are bloggers that I know and I work with through my Inner Circle program, through my membership programs that I talk to daily that have amazing blogs and generate tons of traffic through their blogs, and they're getting paid through affiliate links on their blogs, but they've also been able to develop their influence on social media and work with brands in a sponsored capacity in that way. So let's really drill down on influencer. People will say, well, what's an influencer, Nina? What's an influencer? And everyone wants a definition. So maybe I'll make a really in-depth video on that topic. But really what it comes down to for social media influencer is someone who has influence, right? So this is mostly to say an audience that will act when you tell them to. So I like to think of it, do you have the ability to drive people into motion, right? Oftentimes when you're on a blog, you're reading about things and you're learning, but you're not necessarily like trying to sell or promote things, versus like a lot of times my influencers that are creating content or working with brands, their audience comes to them for recommendations, for products maybe. So yes, you're seeing a lot more sponsored style content on with the influencer route, right? You're seeing a lot more of people being able to influence their communities, right? Like they have a trusted community that comes to them. And oftentimes that's why brands want to work with them, right? Because they're like, wow, you have an audience of people that really want to, you know, learn from you and are going to make the purchases or the things that you recommend. Now, that's where the word gets tricky, because obviously like a YouTuber could be an influencer, right? If you're using it based on if you have influence. But I think for this video and just for definition's sake, we are not going to think about just general influential people, because just because you're influential doesn't mean you're influential on social media. So let's stick to like social and thinking about it in that perspective. I think something that is really important is to understand that it's not a contest. It's just different, right? Like there are different skill sets, there are different things that people bring to the table. Interestingly enough, I was on a call with a brand recently and they were like, yeah, I really need some blog content because we have an affiliate program and we want to work with someone who can give us really good blog content. So their goals were to drive their affiliates, you know, to get more click-throughs. So they wanted to work with a blogger. In that case, working with an influencer wouldn't even make sense, right? Because when it comes to blog content, I always say it has a longer shelf life, especially if it's SEO optimized and it's getting traffic from Google. Like that post could live forever, versus maybe something on Instagram is not going to, right? It's going to go down the feed and probably lose steam after a few weeks, if lucky to even have that long, right? So they have different shelf lives. They have different, as someone on the brand side, when I work with bloggers, my goals are very different than when I work with a creator on Instagram that is, you know, an influencer, because I'm reaching also like different audiences. I have different goals. And I think as, you know, whether route you go, influencer or blogger, or if you want to do both, that's totally cool, because a lot of people do both, right? But you don't have to do both. As a blogger, you can focus on really focusing on your blog, developing your content strategy. You don't even need to worry about like the influencer side, because I think my advice in general is do what you do and do it well. You know, a lot of times my bloggers get tripped out on Instagram and they're trying to compete in a space that they don't even maybe want to participate in, but they feel like they have to because they need, you know, something else. And I get that stress. And the same thing for my influencer, like they'll be posting on Instagram and they're like, I need a blog, I need something. So it's always like, I get that you guys want to have alternative like platforms or sites or things in your business to grow and scale. But when you're just starting, focus on something and doing it well. I think that's just really good advice to get you consistent, to get you posting, regardless if you're an influencer or a blogger. Now, another big difference when it comes to influencer and blogger that I do think is important to shout out is the quality of the content. And again, when a brand wants to approach you or work with you, it really depends on their goals. I think you can tell an influencer right away just based on heading over their profile on Instagram. You're gonna see those flat lays, you're gonna see really beautiful photos and visuals. And oftentimes, yes, they may have a larger audience because you can see right away, versus on a blog, you have no idea like how many people read that article, right? It's different. It's like influencers are boasting the number of followers they have and their comments and their likes. It's, you know, their views, and it's easier for brands to kind of see what those metrics are, versus on a blogger site, you may not necessarily know. But as a brand, they're going to have to test and see where do they see the biggest return on investment, working with who, and maybe it's a little bit of both, right? So there's not necessarily like just working with influencers on social or just working with bloggers, because again, the best is whenever you're the golden egg and you can do both, right? When you have a blog to fall back on, like I said, I was on a client call and they were like, you know, we were talking about with an influencer and they're like, oh, do you have a blog? And how many like unique monthly visitors do you have? And it just was able for her to charge more because she had something else to fall back on to give her that credibility. So again, something to consider when you are building your business. And lastly, I think just from the brand perspective, I think a reason influencers tend to shine or be like the shiny coin is because it's about them and there's that humanized effect. Whereas I don't know about you, but sometimes I'll go on a blog and feel like I don't even know who the writer is. So that's something bloggers can do and take from the influencer is humanize their blog content more, put photos of them there, you know, maybe include right in a perspective that the person feels like they know you. That is what influencers do really, really well, right? They have built trust in their communities because they show up on camera and they're talking and people feel like they know them. And oftentimes with the blogger, it's just written text and it's harder to convert via written text. So that's something bloggers can do to kind of share from the influencer. And influencer, you can learn from the blogger by really understanding the importance of storytelling and adding value. That's what bloggers do so well. Their blog posts are super in-depth, super valuable, searchable, based on keywords. So influencers, you guys can learn that from your blogger friends. And again, if you are a creator and you want to meet other creators or other bloggers and network and get together, then you should definitely check out my Inner Circle program. It is a membership for creators. I have creators at all levels, all niches, all platforms, bloggers, TikTokers, YouTubers, the whole gamut, and everyone is helping each other grow and learn. So if you want to learn more about that, you can click the link below. Anyways, guys, hope you enjoyed today's video. Let me know, are you team influencer, team blogger? Are you both? Are you an influencer that wants to start a blog? Are you a blogger that wants to develop your influence on social? Either way, we have a variety of different courses to help you both. So make sure to head over to sidewalkerdaily.com, click courses so you can learn about different ways that we can help you in your creator journey. All right, guys, see you in the next video.